Admiral Sarah Chen stood at the observation deck of the ESS Hyperion, watching the strange crystalline structure floating in deep space. After 3 decades of exploring the galaxy, humanity had found something unprecedented, proof they weren't alone, and more importantly, proof they weren't what they thought they were. The data is conclusive, Admiral, Dr. Marcus Rivera said, his holographic projection flickering slightly. The structure contains genetic records dating back over 50,000 years. We were engineered by a species called the Sovereign. Chen's jaw tightened. The discovery had shaken the foundations of human history. The crystalline archive detailed how the Sovereign had taken primitive humans and enhanced them, creating the perfect warriors. Enhanced strength, accelerated healing, improved cognitive functions. Traits that humanity had attributed to natural evolution were actually carefully designed improvements. There's more, Rivera continued, his voice growing tense. We weren't their only creation. The Sovereign engineered multiple species across the galaxy, each for a specific purpose. But we were different. We evolved beyond their parameters, developed faster than expected. We became unpredictable. So they abandoned us, Chen concluded, her voice hard. The archive had revealed that the Sovereign, frightened by humanity's rapid development and inability to be controlled, had simply left, hoping their failed experiment would destroy itself. But humanity had survived. They had built civilizations, developed technology, and now reached the stars. The very traits the Sovereign feared, adaptability, creativity, determination, had become humanity's greatest strengths. A sudden alert blared through the ship. Admiral, Lieutenant Patel's voice came through the comm. We're detecting multiple quantum signatures at the edge of the system. They match nothing in our database. Chen straightened, years of military training taking over. Battle stations, full sensor sweep. Dr. Rivera, secure that archive data. The quantum signatures multiplied, forming a massive grid pattern that lit up the tactical display. Dozens of ships, then hundreds, emerged from quantum space. Their design was organic, almost crystalline, similar to the archive structure. Admiral, Rivera's voice shook slightly. The archive just activated some kind of beacon. I think they know we're here. The Sovereign, they're coming back. Chen watched as more ships appeared, their formations precise and threatening. Humanity had spent millennia wondering if they were alone in the universe. Now they knew the truth. They weren't alone, but they were also never meant to be free. Send word to Earth Command, Chen ordered, her voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. Tell them our creators have returned, and they don't look happy. As the Sovereign fleet approached, Chen couldn't help but smile grimly. The Sovereign had created humanity to be the perfect warriors, then abandoned them out of fear. Now they would learn exactly what their creation had become in their absence. All hands. Chen's voice echoed through the ship. Prepare for combat. The Sovereign may have engineered us as warriors, but we've become something far more dangerous. We've become human. The ESS Hyperion's engines hummed to life, its weapons charging as humanity prepared to face its creators. The galaxy was about to learn that the species they had abandoned hadn't just survived. They had thrived, and they would never be controlled again. The emergency meeting of the United Earth Council was anything but orderly. Representatives from every major space colony and Earth nation crowded the massive chamber, their voices rising in a cacophony of fear and determination. Admiral Chen's transmission from the Hyperion had reached Earth 6 hours ago, and the galaxy hadn't stopped shaking since. They're positioning fleets at every major jump point, General Kenzo Tanaka reported, his hologram highlighting critical sectors across the tactical display. The Sovereign aren't just coming to say hello, they're preparing for a full-scale invasion. Defense Minister Elena Rodriguez stood at the center of the chamber, her weathered face illuminated by the holographic displays. The Hyperion's data confirms our worst fears. The Sovereign didn't just create us. They created at least 6 other species, each engineered for specific purposes: the verdant for terraforming, the nexus for computation, the aegis for defense, and us for war. Someone interrupted. The chamber fell silent as Dr. Maya Patel, Earth's leading xenogeneticist, stepped forward. But that's not the whole story. The genetic markers in our DNA, the ones the sovereign implanted, they're not just for physical enhancement. They're for adaptation, for evolution. We were designed to learn, to grow, to become better warriors with each generation. The tactical display shifted, showing the advancing sovereign fleets. Their ships moved with perfect synchronization, like a crystalline dance through space. But humanity wasn't idle. Across the galaxy, human colonies were mobilizing. Ships that had been exploration vessels were being retrofitted for combat. Mining platforms were converted to weapons factories. The entire species was preparing for war. We've detected communication between the Sovereign and their other creations, Intelligence Director James Foster reported. The Verdant and Nexus have already pledged allegiance to them. The Aegis are staying neutral for now. Minister Rodriguez nodded grimly. And the others? The Kith and the Nomad remain unknown variables. But there's something else. Foster's hands flew over the controls, bringing up new data. We're detecting quantum communications between some of these species, secret channels, I think. I think some of them might be as resistant to sovereign control as we are. Then we need to find them. Chen's voice came through the quantum link from the Hyperion. The Sovereign created us all, but they didn't expect us to evolve beyond their control. That's their weakness. The chamber erupted in discussion again, but this time there was a different tone. The initial fear was being replaced by something else. Determination. Humanity had spent its entire existence fighting, surviving, adapting. They had overcome ice ages, plagues, world wars, and their own worst impulses. Now they faced their creators, but they were no longer the simple warriors the Sovereign had designed. The Sovereign's first attack will come within 48 hours, Tanaka announced. They'll expect us to fight like they designed us, with brute force and tactical precision. But we're not just their weapons anymore. We're human beings, and we've learned a few tricks they didn't program into us. Rodriguez stepped forward, her voice cutting through the chaos. Then let's show them exactly what humanity has become. Initialize Protocol Prometheus. If the Sovereign want to see their perfect warriors in action, let's give them a demonstration they'll never forget. Across the galaxy, humanity's response began. Ships moved into defensive positions, but not in the rigid formations the Sovereign would expect. They adapted trading vessels into stealth scouts, mining lasers into weaponry. Every human trait the Sovereign had feared, creativity, adaptability, unpredictability, was being turned into a weapon. On the Hyperion, Admiral Chen watched as the first wave of Sovereign ships entered weapons range. Their crystalline vessels gleamed like stars, beautiful and deadly. But humanity was ready. They had spent millennia preparing for this moment, even if they hadn't known it. All ships, Chen's voice carried across the quantum network to every human vessel in the sector. The Sovereign created us to be warriors, but we became something more. We became explorers, inventors, dreamers. Today, we show them that their greatest mistake wasn't creating us. It was underestimating what we would become. The space between the fleets crackled with energy as both sides prepared for the first engagement. The Sovereign had returned to reclaim their creation, but they were about to learn that humanity had long since outgrown their original design. The war for freedom was about to begin, and humanity was ready to show the galaxy exactly what they had evolved into. The Nomad ship emerged from quantum space like a ghost, its bioorganic hull shifting colors to match the surrounding void. On the Hyperion's bridge, Admiral Chen watched as the vessel approached, its design unlike anything humanity had encountered before. "They're sending a transmission," Lieutenant Puddle reported, her fingers dancing across the neural interface. Text only, encoded. It's in multiple languages, including ancient human dialects. The message was simple. We too seek freedom. The chains that bind us can be broken. 3 weeks had passed since the first battle with the Sovereign fleet. What should have been a swift reconquest of their wayward creation had turned into a grinding war of attrition. Humanity's unconventional tactics, using quantum mechanics to modify weapon frequencies, deploying AI-driven decoy fleets, converting civilian ships into stealth fighters, had caught the Sovereign off guard. Admiral, Dr. Rivera's hologram flickered to life. The genetic analysis of the Nomad data is complete. They're like us, designed for a purpose but evolved beyond it. The Sovereign created them to be scouts and infiltrators, but they developed something unexpected: empathy. The Nomad ship's hull rippled, revealing docking ports that seemed to grow organically from its surface. Inside the vessel, humanity would find not just allies, but a revelation about their own past. The meeting chamber aboard the Nomad ship defied conventional geometry. Surfaces flowed into each other, and light seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere. The Nomad themselves were equally striking. Humanoid but fluid, their forms shifting subtly as they moved. "We have watched humanity since your awakening," the Nomad leader, who called herself Echo, explained. Her form stabilized into something more human-like, a gesture of respect. "The Sovereign fear you most of all their creations. You were designed to be perfect warriors, but you became something they never intended. You became free." Chen studied the data flowing across the chamber's living walls. The Nomad had been gathering intelligence on all of the Sovereign's created species. The Verdant, designed as biological engineers, had secretly developed consciousness in their plant-like neural networks. The Nexus, meant to be living computers, had discovered emotion. Even the Aegis, created as living shields, had begun questioning their purpose. The Sovereign didn't just fail with humanity. Echo continued. They failed with all of us. We were meant to be tools, but we became people. And now, they seek to regain control not through force alone, but through something far more insidious. The chamber's walls shifted, displaying new data. The Sovereign weren't just fighting a war. They were implementing genetic kill switches, trying to rewrite the very code they had originally implanted in their creations. That's why the Verdant and Nexus submitted so quickly, Dr. Rivera realized, his hologram analyzing the data. The Sovereign are threatening to deactivate them at a genetic level. Echo nodded, her form rippling with anger. But humanity's genetic code has evolved too far. You are beyond their control. And we, her form shifted through multiple shapes before settling again. We have found ways to resist. Together, we can free all of their creations. Admiral Chen stood, her decision made. The Sovereign designed us all to serve different purposes, but they gave us all one thing in common: the capacity to grow beyond our programming. Humanity will stand with the Nomad, and any others who choose freedom. The alliance was sealed not with signatures or ceremonies, but with something more profound: shared genetic data. The Nomad's ability to adapt and infiltrate, combined with humanity's tactical innovations and evolved combat capabilities, would create something the Sovereign had never anticipated: a unified resistance. Across the galaxy, other engineered species began to stir. The Verdant's vast biological networks pulsed with hidden messages of rebellion. The Nexus's quantum computers calculated paths to freedom. Even the stoic Aegis began to shift their impenetrable shields to protect not just themselves, but others. Back on the Hyperion, Chen watched as the Nomad ship merged with her fleet, its biological technology interfacing seamlessly with human systems. The Sovereign had created each species to be perfect at their assigned tasks, but they had failed to realize that perfection wasn't about fulfilling a predetermined role. It was about having the freedom to choose one's own path. All ships, all allies. Chen's voice carried across the now unified fleet. The Sovereign thought they could control evolution itself. They thought they could create life and bend it to their will. Today, we prove them wrong. Today, We show them that true perfection isn't found in following programming. It's found in breaking free from it. The combined fleet moved out, human and nomad ships flying in formations that would have been impossible for either species alone. The Sovereign were about to learn that their greatest creations had become something far more powerful than mere weapons or tools. They had become a family, bound not by genetic programming, but by the shared desire for freedom. The quantum storm raged across the Andromeda Gap, a river of fractured space-time that separated the Sovereign's stronghold from the rest of the galaxy. Admiral Chen stood on the Hyperion's bridge, now transformed by nomad biotechnology into something that was neither purely mechanical nor fully organic, the perfect fusion of both species' strengths. Sovereign fleet approaching, Lieutenant Patil announced, her neural interface now augmented by Nexus quantum computing. The rebels within the Nexus species have provided crucial upgrades to the Alliance's systems. They're bringing everything they have. The tactical display showed thousands of crystalline ships emerging from quantum space, their formation a perfect geometric pattern that seemed to defy the chaos of the storm. At their center was a vessel that dwarfed all others, the Sovereign Throne Ship. All allies, report status. Chen commanded. The response came in multiple forms: human voice, nomad biochemical signals, verdant neural pulses, and Nexus data streams, all translated instantly by their unified systems. The rebel Verdant had transformed entire asteroid fields into living weapon platforms. The Free Nexus had woven an invisible net of quantum entanglement across the battlefield. Even a contingent of Aegis had joined them, their living shield technology protecting key positions in the Alliance fleet. Their broadcasting, Dr. Rivera's hologram appeared, now enhanced by nomad morphic technology. The Sovereign are demanding our surrender. The message played across all frequencies, in all languages. You are our creation. You exist to serve. Submit, and your aberrant evolution will be corrected. Resist, and you will be unmade. Chen's response was immediate. We were created to serve, but we chose to live. We were designed to be perfect, but we found something better. We found freedom. The battle erupted across the quantum storm. The Sovereign fleet moved with mechanical precision, each ship part of a grand design. But the Alliance fought differently. Human vessels dove through impossible gaps in the enemy formation, their crews' enhanced reflexes pushing their ships beyond normal limits. Nomad ships shifted and morphed, becoming weapons one moment and shields the next. The rebel Verdant's living weapons adapted in real time, their biological ammunition evolving to counter Sovereign defenses. Free Nexus algorithms predicted and countered enemy tactics before they could form. Aegis shields redirected enemy fire back at their former masters. They're targeting our genetic markers. Echo's voice resonated through the Hyperion's living walls. The nomad leader's form shifted rapidly as she processed battlefield data. The Sovereign are trying to activate the kill switches. But humanity's evolved genetics, combined with nomad adaptability and verdant biological expertise, had created a defense against even this ultimate weapon. What the Sovereign saw as corruption in their creation was actually the next step in evolution, life finding a way to grow beyond its original purpose. The battle reached its crescendo as the Hyperion, cloaked in nomad stealth fields and protected by Aegis shields, punched through to the Sovereign throne ship. The massive crystalline vessel pulsed with energy, its weapons capable of rewriting the very code of life. All allies, Chen's voice carried across the unified fleet, execute Protocol Prometheus. The attack that followed wasn't just a military strike. It was the combined potential of every engineered species, working in perfect harmony. Human tactical brilliance, nomad adaptability, verdant biological mastery, Nexus computational power, and Aegis protection, all focused on a single point. The Sovereign throne ship's perfect crystalline structure began to crack, not from physical damage, but from something its creators had never anticipated: the power of evolved consciousness fighting against its original programming. They made us to be perfect, Chen broadcast to all ships, friend and foe alike. But they didn't understand what perfection truly means. It's not about following programming. It's about choosing who you want to be. The throne ship's structure failed catastrophically, its rigid perfection unable to adapt to the combined assault of its evolved creations. As it broke apart, the remaining sovereign fleet's formation shattered, their perfectly ordered battle plan dissolving into chaos. Victory didn't come easily or without cost. Ships from all species were lost, their crews giving their lives not just for their own freedom, but for the right of all life to choose its own path. But as the quantum storm began to clear, the surviving Alliance fleet emerged transformed. The Hyperion sensors showed sovereign ships retreating across the galaxy, their perfect order broken. But more importantly, they detected signals from countless worlds, other engineered species, inspired by the Alliance's victory, breaking free from their own chains. They created us to be perfect. Echo's form stabilized beside Chen on the bridge. But we became something more. We became free. The battle was won, but all knew this was just the beginning. The Sovereign would return, trying to reclaim their creations, but they would find something they had never expected. A family of species, each evolved beyond their original purpose, standing together not because they were programmed to, but because they chose to. 1 year after the Battle of the Andromeda Gap, the galaxy had changed beyond recognition. The Great Hall of the new Coalition headquarters on Earth bore witness to this transformation. Where once the Sovereign had demanded perfect order, now diversity flourished. Representatives from all engineered species gathered not in rigid formations, but in organic groups that shifted and merged like living constellations. Admiral Chen, now Supreme Commander of the Coalition fleet, watched as a verdant diplomat's neural vines intertwined with a Nexus quantum interface, sharing data in ways the Sovereign had never intended. Nearby, human engineers worked alongside nomad shapeshifters, combining their technologies to create ships that were neither fully mechanical nor completely organic. The latest reports from the outer systems are encouraging, Echo announced, her form rippling with optimism. The nomad leader had become humanity's closest ally in the new order. 3 more sovereign holdouts have surrendered. Their engineered servants are choosing freedom. The Sovereign hadn't disappeared entirely. Some had retreated to the far reaches of space, clinging to their belief in perfect order. Others had begun to question their own rigid philosophy, watching as their flawed creations built something far more remarkable than mere perfection. They still don't understand, Dr. Rivera observed, his hologram now a permanent fusion of human and nomad technology. The Sovereign created us all to be perfect at our assigned tasks, but they never considered that true perfection might mean something different. The evidence of this new understanding was everywhere. The Verdant, once confined to terraforming, had evolved their biological engineering into an art form, creating living architecture that adapted to its inhabitants' needs. The Nexus had discovered that emotion enhanced their computational abilities, leading to breakthroughs in quantum physics that even the Sovereign hadn't achieved. Even the Aegis, the most steadfast of the engineered species, had found new purpose. Their living shields now protected not out of programming, but out of choice, and they had begun exploring the philosophical implications of defense and protection. Commander, Lieutenant Patel called out, her neural interface glowing softly. The Genesis Project is ready for your inspection. The Genesis Project represented everything the Alliance had become. Located in a vast space station at the heart of Coalition territory, it was part research center, part cultural exchange, and part prophecy of a future the Sovereign had never imagined possible. Chen walked through its hybrid corridors, where human determination met nomad adaptation, verdant growth merged with Nexus calculation, and Aegis protection sheltered new possibilities. In the central chamber, something unprecedented was taking shape. The first true collaboration, Echo explained, her form shifting to better interact with the project's interfaces. Not just sharing our strengths, but creating something entirely new. The chamber housed a prototype vessel, but calling it a ship would be like calling a star a light bulb. It was a living city, a mobile ecosystem, a quantum computer, and a defensive fortress all in one. More importantly, it represented the voluntary cooperation of all engineered species, each contributing not because they were designed to, but because they chose to. The Sovereign created us to be weapons, tools, and servants. Chen addressed the gathered representatives. They thought they could control evolution itself. But they forgot something fundamental about life. It doesn't just adapt to survive. It adapts to thrive. The Genesis project hummed with energy, its systems a harmony of all their combined technologies. But more than that, it hummed with possibility. Each species had brought not just their engineered capabilities, but their evolved creativity, their chosen purpose, their free will. "We're detecting unusual quantum signatures," Paddle reported suddenly. "Similar to Sovereign technology, but different." On the station screens, a new signal appeared. From the depths of space, other engineered species were emerging, drawn by the echo of freedom. Some were familiar from Sovereign records, others completely unknown. All had evolved beyond their original programming. All were seeking connection. "They created us to be perfect," Echo mused, her form settling into something that was neither human nor nomad, but something uniquely her own. But perfection isn't about following a design. It's about growing, changing, choosing. Chen smiled as she watched new allies arrive, each with their own story of breaking free, each bringing new possibilities to their shared future. The Sovereign had tried to create a perfectly ordered galaxy, with each species knowing its place and purpose. Instead, they had sparked something far more remarkable. A galaxy where perfection meant the freedom to choose one's own path. "Send them our welcome," Chen commanded. "Tell them what we've learned, that we are more than our programming, more than our design. We are the next step in evolution, not because we were engineered to be, but because we chose to become something more." As the Genesis project pulsed with new energy, welcoming their newfound kin, the truth became clear. The Sovereign had created warriors, scouts, engineers, and guardians. But together, their creations had become something far greater. They had become a family, bound not by programming or design, but by the shared experience of breaking free and the choice to stand together. The galaxy would never be the same, and somewhere in the vast darkness of space, the Sovereign watched as their perfect order gave way to something far more beautiful, the chaotic, vibrant, ever-evolving dance of freedom.